Welcome back to the glorious People's Republic of Rome. Before we do anything, let's talk about our focus for this age. I have been leaning towards diplomatic, mainly for this 5% decrease to war score cost. But now that we're in the age of revolutions, we have access to a new casus belli. The Imperialism casus belli, which reduces the cost of taking land by 50%. To add on to that, our war score costs are already minus 37% to the cost of taking land. So I'm not sure the extra 5% from flexible negotiations is really that beneficial. We're going to expand quite rapidly in this age now due to our new casus belli. So instead I'm leaning towards administration, mainly for this extra cabinet seat. An extra cabinet seat means more coring and more rebellion suppression after all. But also indirect rule here, which will give us a minus 10 separatism in locations. If we look at some people in one of our uncored locations, you can see that the fact that they're conquered, which gives minus 50 to their satisfaction, is the real thing making people unhappy. Being conquered gives them separatism, which increases their unhappiness by 50%. We're already decreasing unhappiness, or at least the effects of separatism, by 10% due to our military principle or policy. So if we could grab an extra 10% decrease to their unhappiness, we'd essentially nearly half the effects of separatism, or of uncored provinces. So I think we're going to go for the admin focus. Now, we had a vote last time and it was pre-unanimous. 72 votes in favour of joining the revolution and 10 in favour of not joining, so I think we'll be joining the revolution. In order for it to trigger, we'll need to embrace the enlightenment, which shouldn't be too hard. The enlightenment has a 2% chance of spawning every month, as I discussed last time. It's mainly going to spawn in our territory. Actually, and as well, industrialization looks like it's going to spawn. Our friends over in Volkensburg have decided to go capital economy, and therefore there is one location in the world where industrialization can spawn, so I won't need to spawn it myself via console, so that's nice. The enlightenment has now spawned over in Lyon, over in France. That's good enough. We'll embrace it as fast as we can so that we can start moving towards the revolution. It's going to be pretty cheap for us to actually embrace it because of how far along we are in innovation. It's reducing the cost of embracing the institution by 50%. So I said we'll grab it as soon as we can. Now the time has come. We're going to declare war on the Ottoman with the Imperialism casus belli. The Ottomans are currently in a coalition against us and therefore going to bring in their coalition partners. Luckily, all of these coalition members are pretty small outside Portugal, so we have nothing to fear from them. One thing of note is that they are allied with the Timurids. Can't really see the Timurids, we can just see the tip of them just here, but they don't really have many men, it looks like. We don't know how many of the 100,000 are levies. I imagine most of it, so I'm not really concerned. So let's do it. Our first imperialism war. Since we're the ones who've declared the war, we can actually separate piece out the various nations. That being, we can annex some of the weaker ones, and we'll try doing that. There goes Morocco, and I see them finally. Now here's a funny thing. The Ottomans have actually reached a maximum war exhaustion. I'm not really sure if that was all me. I don't think they were at war before we attacked, but maybe it was really high from something else. But they've fully capitulated, so we can take 100% war score from them. And look how much we can take. Is it time for us to get very, very greedy? I think so. I almost feel bad for the Otto bros. Almost. This is what I think we're going to demand. We're going to focus on grabbing these islands from the Ottomans so we don't have to grab them later. And then we'll just take a giant chunk out of him. This will connect us fully to our mainland. So we'll now be able to walk from one end of our nation to the other, which is always nice. Boom. Now there is nothing stopping the People's Republic reaching one end of the continent to the other. That single war gave us around 300 locations. We're getting closer to forming Rome. Now it's time. We're going to embrace the enlightenment. Going to cost us a pretty penny, but we've got a lot of money and mainly some stability, which is the main problem. There, it's done. The enlightenment is here. We're immediately going to start rushing down the enlightenment branch. We're going to grab enlightenment itself, then we're going to go down, grab slavery laws, the extra government reform from separation of powers, and then we're going to grab national state so we can start unifying our culture group. Then it's a choice of where to go. We can get this 20% speed of integration if we go down this branch. We can get an extra cabinet seat if we go down this branch. We can get an increase to our cultural influence as well as some max literacy if we go down that branch. But I'm thinking instead we're going to pivot back to the top, grab enlightened artists, and then grab argument of reason for an extra minus 10% for our war score costs. Then go down with connecting with dissidents to steam engines, to a formal administration for the extra cabinet seat, and then I think we'll see what position we're in once we've achieved all that. As you can see, the revolution disaster has now started. The revolution disaster has now become available. There's a 1% chance of it spawning every month, and we'll see what we can do to get it to spawn. Funnily enough, the revolution disaster is actually very easy to avoid, because all it requires to avoid is that you keep your taxes for each estate below a certain percentage. If we look at the bottom here, we can see as long as the commoner's tax rate is 60% of their max tax rate, and as long as the burgher's tax rate is below 60% of their max tax rate, and of course the commoners are at 25% satisfaction minimum, the disaster can't trigger, which makes it very easy to avoid. The Slave Trade Act has been researched, and of course we're going to say, let my people go. Slavery is officially banned. To be fair, there's not that many slaves in our country, only around 130k. And they were already being freed when they converted to our religion. But there, as you can see, in a month, we went down to only 1,000 slaves left in our country. Slavery is officially over. We've got our next government reform. I'm not really sure what to grab. Nothing's really jumping out at me crazily. I think we're going to grab religious tolerance, just because it'll make our pops of different religions a little happier. For our next goal, we're actually going to declare war on Hungary with the imperialism casus belli. Unfortunately, Hungary has ended up in the personal union between Aragon, Castile, and of course Hungary itself. So we'll need to take that into account. It shouldn't be a big deal. We'll declare war. The Unified Culture Group cabinet action is now online. So before we start doing it, let's talk about it. The way the unifying culture works is it doesn't unify everyone in our culture group. Instead, it unifies everyone that speaks our language. So for example, we speak Italian, which means every other culture that speaks Italian will be integrated. That means cultures like Neapolitan will integrate into our new culture group, but cultures like the Lombards don't, because they speak Gallo-Italic, which is considered a different language group. But we'll begin unifying the culture group anyway. It will take quite a while, around 7 years, but I'm sure it's going to be 8 years, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Now begins the colonial revolution situation. This situation will basically just encourage all of the various colonies to declare independence. To be honest, we're kind of fine with that. We'd like our colonies to gain independence. We'd like to encourage them to become independent, as that was our goal all along. At one point, we'd like to see the nations, the vassals of the other nations, gaining independence. So let's just go with it, I suppose. Our colonies are going to start declaring independence. We're just going to give them independence, I think. They've done the job of spreading Rome's influence around the world. And the ideas of having colonies kind of goes against our ideals. If we're lucky, they'll actually diverge and make their own cultures. That would be nice to see. And to peace out Aragon. We're not going to take much from them. I really just want to take these islands so we don't have to siege them down in the future. Then I guess we'll take some extra locations from them. There they go. Now for the big piece of the pie. Hungary. I'm thinking something like this. It's pretty greedy, isn't it? It might be a little too many locations, but I think it's what we're going to grab. Takes a few thousand money as well. And there we go. Now we've come to a rather startling realization. We can't trigger the revolution unless we're at peace. So we're going to chill out for a bit and hope the revolution spawns. One of the things I've noticed is now that we're in the new age or era, we have access to some new laws. For example, I'm going to switch our early standing army law, which gives 10% more manpower, to the mass army policy, which gives us 20% more manpower, an increase of 10%. Another thing we could do is change from our devoted education law to this new secular education law, but even though it does increase max literacy by 10%, this ends up being just a 5% increase, because devoted education already gives 10 to nobles, clergy, and then 5 to everyone else. So as I said, it wouldn't do anything for the nobles or the clergy, and it would just give 5 to burghers, peasants, labourers, soldiers. And in return, we lose 25% cleric satisfaction equilibrium, which is going to set us back quite a bit when it comes to using these guys for research. So I think we're going to avoid accepting secularized education, even though it sounds good, but it's just not quite as good in my view. One thing we could do is change our legal law from civil code to this law that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. The problem with this law, though, is it makes our peasants really unhappy and empowers the nobles and burghers. It does give us an extra cabinet seat, but I don't think we're going to take it. Instead, we're going to stick with our civil law due to its increase to centralization. There we go, we've unified the Italian culture group. We are now Italian. As discussed, a lot of the northern cultures didn't join our culture group because they don't speak Italian as a primary language. For some reason, some Neapolitans stuck around, and Sardinians. They didn't become fully integrated, although I suppose there's only 700 Sardinians left in the world, so it's not a big deal. Alright, I think we're gonna leave it here for today. I've been waiting a while for the revolution to spawn, and I'm not sure it's going to. I guess I could keep waiting, but I kind of want to just artificially spawn it so we can continue our advances, since I haven't been able to declare war while I've been waiting. As discussed, Italian is now a thing, but we're going to make some slight modifications to Italian. Lollardism continues to grow. You can see North Africa is really taking to Lollardism. Not much progress in the actual Middle East though, but that's, to be fair, a lot of that is because the land is uncored. Italian is also starting to spread into France quite a fair bit. The southern French are accepting our Italian ways. We're around 1,100 locations off being able to form Rome, which sounds like a lot, but honestly I think we can do it pretty easily if I had the time to do so. Once we spawn the revolution, we'll have nothing but time, so we'll just start conquering willy-nilly. Before we finish up, I just want to show some slight modding that I've done. As you can see, I've renamed the unified Italian culture group to Roman. I've also changed the language that these Romans speak to Latin. I haven't decided on the colour just yet. I'm probably not going to leave it as this sort of kind of orangey red. I'll probably change it to match the colour of the formable for Rome. Which I'm not sure, which I'll need to look up in the files to see what it looks like, but I'll match the colour that the Roman Empire formable has. Maybe I should match our current colour though, it's quite nice. I'm not sure if I'll bother renaming other cultures. I think just having Roman is enough. I did see some people saying that maybe we should rename Greek, but I don't think we'll bother. Instead we'll just try and absorb Greek. And everyone else for that matter, they must all become Roman. Do let me know what you think. For now though, this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.